What's happening, crypto crew? Sean coming back to you with another cryptocurrency video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you go to the bottom, hit the like button, and subscribe for new cryptocurrency content and videos that we post daily. Yes, we do this daily. We'd appreciate the support as it really helps out the channel. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about the top 3 reasons why someone should invest in Bitcoin. Number 1 reason, Bitcoin adoption is accelerating. Global adoption of Bitcoin is accelerating. For example, the company's data showed an increase from 45 million to over 67 million wallets in 12 months. That's 22 million wallets in a year's time. You're looking at 2 million new users a month. Let's look at another chart from November of 2011 all the way to present day. Now this on the side here is numbers in millions. So you're down to not even a million. And then it fast forwards up into about 68 million present day. So the rate of growth in over a 10-year window has been ridiculous. And that's definitely an adoption curve. So what does this mean? 10 years from now, we are definitely going to have mass adoption. Last year in 2020, we had institutions get into the game by putting Bitcoin on their assets for their company. And also they're holding it. They're not selling. They're continuing to accumulate because they understand scarcity and they understand inflation. Let's see what reason number 2 is. The value proposition is perfectly suited to the macro climate. What's that mean? Bitcoin was born out of the global financial crisis of 2019. The housing market collapsed. A lot of things happened in 2008, 9, 10 that hurt a lot of people. Against a backdrop of bank failures, which we bailed them out by printing money, the government bailouts, which I just mentioned, and quantitative easing for the banks, money printing for the banks, Bitcoin was quietly deployed into the wild, where it was ignored by everybody, except a small group of idealists. Lots of nerds, lots of gamers. Back in 2009 when Bitcoin was created, only a few heard about it, and they definitely weren't the most popular people in the room at the time. Definitely great minds, though. A decade later, and we are seeing a new financial crisis and more bailouts, more money printing, historically low interest rates, and increased quantitative easing. We printed out, once again, 20% of all the circulating supply in 2020 by itself, and we're still continuing to print more money. What's this mean? Because of this, institutions understand that Bitcoin is a huge hedge to the inflation to the dollar and the decreasing of the value of the dollar. If you have $1 billion in a bank account, and over a year's time, that same $1 billion loses 10% of its purchasing power, it's a no-brainer to put that money and hedge it into Bitcoin. That's on a macro scale. On an institutional investor scale, let's look at a retail scale. You got $10,000 in a bank account. A year from now, 10% less purchasing power means that $10,000 now is like $9,000. Why would you hold your money in fiat currency? So with that being said, I'm going to show you a few companies that have since last year, 2020, started to accumulate Bitcoin. MicroStrategy, aka Michael Saylor, the CEO of the company. MicroStrategy is a company that definitely has adopted Bitcoin as a reserve asset on its balance sheets. In 2021, MicroStrategy, they produce software and cloud-based services, continued to buy Bitcoin, and in February, they bought 295 Bitcoin. But they own over 71,000 Bitcoin in their asset, in their reserve, equivalent to over $3 billion. Michael Saylor quoted saying that they were buying $1,000 in Bitcoin every second. Michael Saylor also went on record saying he personally holds over 17,000 Bitcoins himself. That's from his personal holdings, not his company holdings. So he's a huge believer, but he understands what's happening on a macro scale and a micro scale, but also the printing of all this fiat is depreciating the value of the US dollar. He doesn't want to lose his wealth, so it's a no-brainer to put his money into Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been the best performing asset over the past decade, since Bitcoin's inception in 2009. Nothing's outperformed it. So when there's turmoil, he looks at it as a huge and great hedge against the dollar. So that's MicroStrategy. So MicroStrategy was sort of the first company that sort of really took Bitcoin really seriously, and that was publicly announced. Tesla was probably the first big company that put money in Bitcoin. And I think Michael Saylor had something to do with it. Electric manufacturer Tesla has joined the ranks of companies holding Bitcoin, with an SEC filing revealing that the company has invested an aggregate of $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. Elon Musk, you heard of him? Back in December of last year, are such large transactions possible? Well, Michael Saylor reached out and he said, yes, I purchased over 1.3 billion in Bitcoin in the past months and be happy to share his playbook with him. So it seems like Michael Saylor had a play on Tesla putting money into Bitcoin. Next company, Galaxy Digital Holdings. Michael Novogratz founded this company. This is a crypto-focused merchant bank, and they hold over 16,000 Bitcoin. Michael Novogratz has been on plenty of podcasts, plenty of news broadcasts, pretty well-known figure in the crypto space. He's known to have given price predictions and things of past. Why am I showing you all this? This is just 3. There's more on the list. I can keep going down, grayscale. But these big institutions understand that Bitcoin is here to stay and that the devaluation of the dollar doesn't conserve their wealth, personally or for their company. So as the money printing continues, Bitcoin's price will increase long term. And right now, we sort of pigeonholed ourselves to continue to keep printing money because there's nothing else that we can do. The next reason, stock to flow model. Since Bitcoin's inception, it has followed a trajectory which can be illustrated by the stock to flow model. I'm going to read this really quick for you guys. An investing concept called stock to flow can be used to quantify the scarcity of an asset, such as Bitcoin. Stock represents the total supply, which Bitcoin has 21 million in circulation, and the flow represents the amount of new supply per year, per what the miners are mining in Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin is open source software, meaning that anybody can go and commit code to it, with a fixed supply, it is possible to measure Bitcoin stock to flow with 100% accuracy. Following Bitcoin's third halving in May of 2020, the current stock to flow of Bitcoin is 56, which is roughly the same as gold. However, after the next halving, Bitcoin will be twice as scarce as gold. What does this all mean? Let's go to Glassnode. If you guys aren't familiar, this is glassnode.com. You can sign up for an account. Very useful site, very useful tools. You can actually get a chart on here for Bitcoin that says stock to flow ratio. And this right here shows what stock to flow actually is. The colored dots is actually the price of Bitcoin. So this is back in 2011. Actually, if you look, Bitcoin was cents. After the halving of 2012, Bitcoin's price shot up to roughly 28 bucks. Then it corrected a little bit. And then a year later, went back up and shot back up to $116. Jeez, wish I heard about Bitcoin back then. So if you look at these lines here, these dotted lines, these are the Bitcoin halving. If you don't know what the halving is an event where the supply of Bitcoin that gets produced each day gets cut in half. Pretty straightforward. So based on the stock to flow model that has been used for scarce assets such as gold, we can predict Bitcoin's price after every halving. So right here, Bitcoin, it capped out around like $8,500. And this was after the second halving right here in 2016. Bitcoin always overshoots what it's supposed to hit. So after this halving here in 2012, it was projected to go up to, looks like about $112, but the price actually shot up to $1,133. So it overshot the stock to flow from 117 to 1133. And the next halving came around in 2016. Right here at its all-time high, Bitcoin reached an amount of, it says 17.7 thousand. On other charts, it says roughly 19.9, almost 20K. But regardless, stock to flow ratio shows that the Bitcoin, should have been about 5,500 at this point. Let's fast forward to halving of 2020. See this line here? It says the price of Bitcoin is going to be 105,000 per the stock to flow. Right now, we are at price of Bitcoin roughly, according to this, 51.7. I think we're a little higher than that, but give or take a few thousand. So before 2020 is out, when this next high hits, which if you notice, the high is hit when it's lime greenish color, and then it starts to correct and go back down and drop below. So this could easily shoot. So if you look over here, there's 100K. If it overshoots, it easily could shoot to 2, 3, 4, 500,000 easily. This halving, and then come back down and correct around this line. Probably stabilize out around $100,000 roughly till the next halving in 2024. Then look what happens. Bitcoin then shoots up to $1.3 million. Then after 2028's halving, let's just not even talk about it. Looks like it's going up to about 15 million. And that is exactly what Michael Saylor's price prediction is for Bitcoin. So right now, if you look at the rainbow dots, each one of these dots gets printed every month. It's not exactly on this line, but it's all pretty spot on. It's staying consistently around this line. And right now we're in the middle of a bull run. So we'll see how far it overshoots and go from there. So back to the original statement of the channel, why invest in Bitcoin. I just gave you 3 reasons why. Institutions know what's coming. The stock to flow model has been pretty spot on. So if this holds correct, let's just say Bitcoin hits its all-time high sometime this year, early next year, whether that's 6 figures, about 6 to 7 years from now, you're looking at Bitcoin hitting potentially $15 million. That's a pretty decent return from where we're at right now. Let's see. Let me just pull up a calculator really quick. Calculators do work. So let's say we're roughly around 50,000. And if it goes up 30x, you're looking at, oh, that's 1.5. So it's 300x. So right now with the price being around 50K, if Bitcoin did a 300x, that'd be a $15 million Bitcoin. So for every dollar you put in, if this model holds true, that dollar about 7 years from now will turn into $300. Not a bad return for just hold on for dear life. Until next time, have a blessed day.